Shalom Yasharallah. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachah HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth. Teaching the truth in righteousness and sincerity to you Israelite foreigners. Come back home to the truth. To those that have passed on serving the Lord, the dead in Yahushua shall arise first. To you sisters who believe, keep encouraging and supporting your brothers who are out here teaching this truth. And always commemorate the sister who washed Yahushua feet when you read the scriptures. All right, I wanted to talk about being wrong. You know, when you're in this truth, you're guaranteed a time when you're gonna be wrong. A time or more, to be honest with you. And it happens to all of us. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, making mistakes. I mean, there is something wrong per se, but it doesn't make you anything wrong with you, because it's normal, right? We all make mistakes. You know, I remember one time, you know, I was in a brother's live stream, and I said, I quoted a scripture, and I said, this is the first time the Most High's name is mentioned in the scriptures, and then I was wrong. He corrected me right away, and honestly, right before he said it, I looked it up again, and it was another scripture before that. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. You have to approach this truth with a level of humility that affords you the ability to walk it back when you're wrong. That's it. It's when brothers are confident in wrong answers, right? Brothers are confident in wrong actions that now you have more to apologize for. Because a lot of times it's like, all right, you know, you fucked up. We all fuck up. But when you're arrogant and when you double down on something wrong, you know, that's where you're leaving little growth, little room for growth, or little room for humility. And I think the role or the importance of humility is, it can't be stated enough. It really can't be stated enough, because you got a lot of arrogance and a lot of brothers that don't think they can possibly be wrong, or make the wrong move and have to double down on it because they feel like, oh, I can't admit to making a mistake. You know, I forgot what philosopher said, to err is human. It's perfectly normal and human to make mistakes and to misspeak, or to just say something, you know, without enough information. You know, and I'm gonna give a perfect example, right? You know, there was a time when I accepted Guerrilla Hebrews, that or I'll say the Sakari. I don't know if Guerrilla Hebrews spoke on this now, but I remember when, I think it was Guerrilla Hebrew that said it, but I accepted their whatchamacallit, their explanation of why they had a Passover at a strip club. Because at the time, I really looked at them as that they could be men of the Lord, and I really looked at them as that they had the best of intentions. So I wouldn't even fathom. Now I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, it's one thing where you can have a Passover in a place that is normally a strip club. Do the strippers have to be there half naked? You know, like, no. Like there's a lot of shit that was missing from that explanation, because I don't remember hearing why did you actually have to use fucking strippers that were half naked? Why couldn't you tell them, hey, listen, because we're paying for the club, y'all gotta have them with clothes. We'll send a big tip. We'll sign for a big gratuity out of the, you know, either take up a collection for it or whatever, if y'all women serve decently clothed. Is that hard to do? Trust and believe. Strippers putting on clothes for tips? You think that they'll argue with that? I personally believe a lot of strippers have a guilty conscience and don't really like what they're doing. I personally believe a lot of strippers are really scared young women, afraid to be kicked out of their homes, afraid to not be able to feed their children. I'm not saying that they're, that makes them right in what they're doing, but I think that's really, listen, if I can keep my clothes on and get extra money, I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 strippers will be perfectly fine with that arrangement. But I don't want to make this about that. It's just, when you're wrong, just be wrong. Just say, hey, listen, we did the wrong thing. We were young and dumb and whatever. I don't know. But be honest with yourself and with the rest of the people, because now, you kind of look stupid. I understand during COVID, it wasn't easy to get a venue. I accept the possibility that that's true, and that's the only venue you was able to secure. But like I said, you couldn't have them put their clothes on. You couldn't say, hey, listen, we're not going to want the half-naked women part of this. We're renting out the club. We're keeping a very serious holy day in our religion or in our faith, or however you want to explain it to them. We can't have women walking around looking like that, because we're trying to be focused on serious matters. Can you have them, if they're gonna serve, we'll take care of them as far as gratuity, but have them fully clothed with their heads wrapped or whatever. You mean to fucking tell me a stripper won't fucking do that? Shit, that'll be a breath of fresh air for them. They'll want to do Passover. If you think a fucking stripper wouldn't be in a fucking rush to have to work with her clothes on and still get the same money, if not more, trust and believe, man. Trust and believe. 9 out of 10 strippers will take that, because it's different from the fucking days where men are gawking at their half-naked bodies. So I'm pretty sure, me knowing a few strippers, I'm pretty sure that that's the way it works, or that's the way it is. Oh, I get to make $500 tonight and keep my clothes on? Well, what fucking, seriously, think about it. That's like me being able to not drive for a day and still make the same money I make. As much as I fucking hate driving, anytime somebody asks me to drive, it becomes a fucking chore. So you don't think for a second, like, wait a minute. I get to not drive. I get to not do something that I hate doing, that I do every day for the job, the thing that makes it a job. Most of the shit that I have to deal with is okay. It's the driving that pisses me off. Unfortunately, I'm not at that level where I can have a person drive me around. But anyway, that's kind of it. When you're wrong in this truth, don't be confident with wrong. When you get called out on something, don't double down. Say, analyze it. Say, you know what, I'm gonna think about that for a bit. You know what I mean? Because you might have a point. You might be right. You might be wrong. But this truth is about admitting when you're wrong. And you're not going to get growth if you're going to fucking sweep everything you do under the rug, and everything you do, you get a pass. No, accountability makes you grow in this truth, man. Accountability makes you grow in this truth. I'm today telling y'all about shit that I've done wrong over the years. Not literally today, but you know what I mean. After 26 years, nonstop, being part of this faith, I realized that I have not always been a mature. I still don't think I'm that mature now. I think in the spirit I've matured. I'm still silly, you know. I still make brothers laugh, whatever, or you know, make my jokes or whatever, have my humor. You know, that's just my spirit. I like to be lighthearted and make brothers laugh, because you know that way, you know, brothers aren't so fucking uptight. You know, but everybody does it different. I'm not knocking brothers that are like extremely serious. You know, about the truth, I'm serious, but I also, like I said, I like to throw in a little humor to lighten the mood sometimes. You know, but everybody does things. That's one thing that I've come to realize, man. The spirit does not look any one way. The spirit doesn't work with any brother any one way. You know, we're all human beings, but we're all wired mentally to think things differently. And that's okay. As long as you understand and believe in the truth and you live by it. You know, if you're a little silly, or if you're a little, you know, what you can't be is a little sinful and think it's okay to be a little sinful. You know, but anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.